Before we begin this podcast, please be advised that the following episode contains language that some listeners may find offensive and inappropriate. The opinions expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not reflect the views of the podcast producers. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to part 2 of this episode about Paula Hall and the tragic case of Freda Heyn. Last time, we were left with the shocking twist of Paula accusing Freda's husband Fred of paying David Epperson and Willie Baker to kill Freda. Now, Paula takes us back to the day of that fateful murder and to what actually happened on this episode of Voices of a Killer.
So whenever you walked in the house, were they like cornering her or were they already starting to try to do something physically?
There was blood flying.
There was blood flying? Is that what you said?
Yeah, underneath the table. On the walls. It was awful. It scared me to death.
So when you walked in, they had already killed her?
Yeah, they were on their way to doing that.
They were still in the process of killing her?
I don't know if she was dead or not. She was being beat on and blood was flying everywhere. She was unconscious if she wasn't dead. I don't know.
Were they beating her?
Yeah.
With what?
And with you know those pokers that you poke a fire with?
Yeah.
Like, it was that.
Wow.
And
why?
And all of her body. And it was crazy. I mean, I went into shock, I think, is what happened.
They were both they both had the same kind of iron piece, or did one have something else?
Only one of them had the iron, and it was Willie Baker.
And he was beating her violently?
Yeah.
What was David doing?
He was hitting her with his fist.
Wow, that's just crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I went outside because I couldn't believe this was going on. I didn't understand what was going on. There was a broken figurine there by the door. And anyway, I went outside because I didn't know what to do. I couldn't stop them.
Well, I got to tell you something. It's pretty telling for these people to do this and comfortable about you being there.
They weren't comfortable at all.
I mean, if I were you, I would have been like, well, shit, I'm definitely going to be killed, because if they think that I'm,
I thought. That is what I thought. And I took off running out that door.
Did they chase after you?
What took place? No, they did not.
According to Paula, the night of Freda Heyn's murder was nothing short of chaos and horror. She claims she walked into the middle of a brutal attack where Freda was already being viciously assaulted by David and Willie, one of whom was wielding a fire poker. Overwhelmed and terrified, Paula says she ran out of the house, unsure of what to do or how to stop the attack. In her version of events, she felt like a witness caught in something she had no control over. But the court saw things differently. According to testimony presented during the first trial, Paula wasn't just a bystander. David Epperson, her former lover, testified that Paula herself took an active role in Freda's death, picking up a golf club and swinging it at the elderly woman's head. David claimed that it was Paula's blow that caused Freda to fall face first to the ground, leaving her fatally wounded. His testimony painted a stark contrast to Paula's claims of shock and fear. Instead of a woman running from the crime, the court heard about a woman complicit in a cold and calculated murder, motivated by fear that Freda would report them for their meth lab operation. This conflicting narrative raises many questions. Was Paula simply a witness who fled the scene out of fear, or was she an active participant in the crime, as the court concluded? We'll find out what happened in the aftermath after the break.
Well, after they were done there, I was running down the road, and they came and stopped and made me get in the car.
What did they tell you?
So they told me to get in the car, or they were going to take care of me. And so I said, I got in the car.
Whenever they bring you back to the murder scene?
No, they took me up to, Freda had a house that she grew up in, and Dave Epperson was renting that house. And they took me up to that house, and they had her in the trunk, and which I was not aware of this until we got to the house. they had her in the trunk. And when we got to the house, they took me inside, and I had to go inside, and I sat on the couch, and I didn't see what they were doing outside. But what they had done was they had took and rolled her in a piece of carpet, and they had her out beside the house. They brought her in the house and put her in a bathtub. She was dead at that time, and they brought her in and put her in the bathtub and started cutting her into pieces, and the sky dried up.
Did you go in the house while they were cutting her up?
I was sitting on the couch screaming and crying, and they wouldn't let me leave. Darren Maggard pulled up. And when Darren Maggard pulled up, he walked in the house and he smelled it. I mean, I don't know if you've ever smelled someone pass away, but it's got its own odor.
Well, this wasn't a long time afterwards, was it?
No.
So it's probably just all the insides.
It was awful. And so anyway, he freaked out, and they knew him, and believe it or not, they let him go. And he went back and got in the car and left, and then they got on the phone, and they called Clinton Ward and Tommy Pettit.
Who are those people?
And, well, they were friends of David Epperson and Willie Baker's. One of them was Willie's son, and the other one was the cousin of the son.
Okay.
Is who they were. Okay, and they pulled up, and I begged them to let me go, and they let me go. Clinton Ward, I knew real well.
What were they cutting her up with?
A knife.
Were they both cutting her up?
No, what took place, this is what ended up happening. That was Clinton Ward, what Willie told Tommy Pettit to do it, okay? Tommy Pettit said no, he wasn't going to do it. And Clinton said, come on, man, let's get this over with. And he bent down too. Well, that's when I was on my way out the door. And I didn't have a car at the time. And I had to go all the way down it was quite a ways to get to the house. So I just ran the whole way and walked and cried.
Paula claims that after fleeing the murder scene, she was forced back into the car by David Epperson and Willie Baker, who threatened her life if she didn't comply. She recounts how she was forced to sit on the couch, crying and screaming, as the men began cutting Freda's body into pieces. Paula insists she had no part in the dismemberment, describing how she was overwhelmed by the grisly scene but unable to escape. This account is starkly different from the version presented in court. Prosecutors argued that Paula was much more involved in the aftermath than she claimed. According to testimony and evidence, Paula had a direct role in cleaning up the scene of the murder and helping dispose of Freda's body. David Epperson, who made a deal with prosecutors, testified that Paula actively participated in wrapping Freda's body in carpet and helping to clean the crime scene, all while high on meth. It was David's DNA left behind during the cleanup that led investigators to Paula and implicated her in the crime. The court's version paints a picture of complicity, not just a bystander trapped in a nightmare. Paula also recounts how two other men, Clinton Ward and Tommy Pettit, were called to help dispose of Freda's body. According to her, she begged to be let go, and eventually, Clinton allowed her to leave. However, the testimony of those involved and the legal findings suggest a far more calculated effort to cover up the crime, one in which Paula was an active participant. As we move forward, we must ask ourselves, was Paula truly a victim of circumstance, or was she a willing accomplice in the brutal dismemberment of Freda Heyn's body?
So they literally had other people just came after to help cut the body up?
And they put her... Now this is what I was told. This is not what I saw. They put her in 5 different bags.
You know, it boggles me that how many people are complacent with exposing.
And
you know,
every one of them
It's not like she's an enemy or something like that hurt her kids. That's different. But, I don't know. It's just crazy. All these people are just riding along with this.
The reason they were after her is because when she went in Dave's house, she had found some dope.
Oh.
And that's where she grew up at.
Yeah. So they were afraid that she was going to tell.
She told them she was going to.
It was actually, from what I read, it was actually a meth lab that she walked in on.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah. So she kind of knew more than just a little bit of bag of meth. It was an actual operation that they were worried about.
Okay.
So that's why this was so violent, because I don't think, I obviously you said that her husband wanted her dead. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. But also I think that she walked in on some of them, cooking or something like that. But
well, that's what they said. I don't know.
I have to admit that Paula's story about Fred Heyn wanting his wife Freda Heyn dead is tenuous at best. When I remind her about the meth lab, she claims ignorance to this, and there are definite patches in her memory about who was there and what exactly happened. Also, how much of a role did Willie Baker actually play in this murder? At the moment, it doesn't seem clear at all. While the murder happened more than 20 years ago, you would think that something this traumatic would still be clear in her mind. Well, for Paula, perhaps part of coping with trauma is blocking it all out. In fact, as we'll find out in the next episode of Voices of a Killer, it wasn't just Paula's memory that was cloudy, as we discover just how Paula managed to be acquitted of second-degree murder. If you want to find out what happens next, right now, you can sign up at patreon.com/voicesofakiller. There you can find bonus content, early access, ad-free listening, and access to our chat community. So go to patreon.com/voicesofakiller to sign up now. Your support is what keeps us passionate about bringing these stories to you. That's a wrap on this episode of Voices of a Killer. A big shout out to Sonic Futures, who handled the production, audio editing, music licensing, and promotion of this podcast. If you want to hear more episodes like this one, make sure to visit our website at voicesofakiller.com. There you can find previous episodes, transcripts, and additional information about the podcast. Lastly, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Your feedback helps us improve and reach new listeners. Thank you for your support, and we can't wait to share more stories with you in the future. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Toby, and we'll see you next time on Voices of a Killer.